Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I'm here today with my November 2022 wrap up, and November was a good reading month for me. I mean, it was not the best, but it was good. I read 11 books in the month of November. I read some good books among them. 3 of them were graphic novels, and I am going to continue that series and hoping to finish it in December. I mean, whatever the volumes are available, you'll see what they are. And I found a couple of favorites actually, and I am super excited for you to see which books they are. But although I have been sharing all of them on Instagram, on my Instagram stories, so I think for those of you who follow me there, this won't come as a surprise. So without any further ado, let's dive right into this video and let me share with you all the books that I read in November 2022. First up is Frank Carter Chapter 4 by Yashesh Rathod. This is the 4th in the Frank Carter series, obviously. And in this book, Frank Carter realizes that there's a way to bring his friends back from the dead. And he goes to this whole new realm using means that are given to him, that people are helping him with. And he goes there, he finds out what he has to do. He has to do this whole gladiator style battle, and he has to fight against monsters and this whole out of this world entity that is threatening to take over everything. And there are some really nice concepts that the author brings in here, but as are my concerns from their earlier books as well, I just felt like the plot is great. I mean, there's a great premise over there which could be woven into another great book, but somehow the execution gets it wrong. It's a very childlike execution. There's too many blow by blow details. Like, I don't need to know everything that's going on, and the language itself is a little raw. Next is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favorite authors of all time. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is like, I love it to no end. And I was expecting something fantastic from this book. But this book, I have conflicting thoughts about because of a lot of reasons. I'll try to explain them in as small a way as possible here. But I'm also planning to come up with a blog post for this. So if you'd like to go check that out, the link to my blog will be in the description box below. So Malibu Rising is about the 4 Riva siblings, who are the children of Mick Riva, who is a legendary singer. I mean, he's just legendary as a singer. As a person, he's the trashiest person ever. If you remember Evelyn Hugo, Mick Riva appears there. We follow Mick's rise to stardom, but we see how the kind of person that he is. But in the present, we follow Nina Riva and her siblings, Mick's children. Nina is the oldest of the siblings, and she is the one who has kept the family together after everything that has happened. And we follow these siblings on one particular day, which is that year's end of summer party, which Nina Riva throws. She is now a huge surfer model. Her 2 brothers are very well known in whatever they do, and the whole of Malibu wants to come to this party. It's that legendary. So you see different movie producers, Hollywood producers, you see actors, you see singers, you see everybody in that party. But on that particular day, a lot of things are about to go down. Secrets are about to spill out, revelations are about to be made, and there's a whole circus that's about to come tumbling out. But what exactly is it, and how Nina will handle all of it? Will she be able to handle it like she's done every single thing in their lives? Follows this entire story. I feel like that was a very bad gist. But first of all, the men in this book, they are like super problematic. Especially Mick and Brandon, and the constant infidelity. Like, I have an issue with infidelity. I mean, I don't have an issue with it being shown. I have an issue with it being shown as something that a person can't help himself from doing. And if there's no comeuppance, if there's no redemption, I feel very icky when I read some stuff like that. And this is it just felt odd to me. Anyway, I still have very conflicted thoughts about Malibu Rising. I have no idea what to rate it, even though the writing is Taylor Jenkins Reid, typical Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's amazing. I felt like because of this the ratings dropped, as well as that there are a lot of characters that come towards the end. I don't need to know all of them, and it meanders so much throughout the whole book that I'm just like, get to the point already. And that has never happened with Taylor Jenkins Reid before, and I'm here like, I blasphemy, but it's there. Next is Postscript by Cecilia Ahern. This is the second in the P.S. I Love You series. I don't think it was supposed to be a series in the first place, but this follows Holly 7 years after Jerry's death, and how she is pulling herself together. She has brought her life back on track. She now has a job. She works with her sister in her store, and she does all of these things. Her life is now resembling something close to peaceful. But after years of persuading her, her sister finally gets her to go on her podcast to talk about her relationship or her experience with caring for a person dying of cancer. And she talks on that podcast, and she is then approached by a club called the P.S. I Love You Club, whose members are dying and they want her help in writing their last letters to their spouses. Holly gets really enraged at first, like, just as I have found my peace, how can you come, how can they come and disrupt all of that and all of that. But she slowly realizes that maybe it would be better from her perspective as a widowed person, that she could be helping them to make the experience for their spouses, for their families, a better one, a more memorable one than a painful one. So she has this whole thing going on throughout the book where she's thinking, she's vacillating, and she doesn't know what to do. But the whole thing is how she finds her own peace, or does she find her own peace during this whole thing? Will her peace be disrupted, or will she find some happiness, some joy in the fact that she's able to help people? I mean, I liked this one. I would even go to the extent of saying that I liked this one a little better than P.S. I Love You, because this one, I feel like it's not about what it talks about, but it's about how it is written. I mean, it can get preachy at times. It's like some of the quotes that are in here are put in just because the author wanted to put in quotes, and it doesn't flow that well. But I really liked how the conflict is brought through. Like, you have your own moral obligations towards yourself as well, and that fight between your duty to yourself and to the duty that you hold towards others. Like, you can't sleep well if you are not helping them, because you can and you're not helping them. And how do you find a balance between these two? That is what this book talks about, and it does it well, and that's why I liked it. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan, but I did like it. Next is How We Love by Clementine Ford. This is Clementine Ford's memoir, in which she talks about the love in her life. She starts off by talking about her mom and how she lost her, I think it was to cancer, and then her subsequent relationships, romantic relationships, the relationships she forged with her friends, her son, and her relationship with her son's father, how it started, how it evolved, how it changed, and how and the place they are in right now. This is a heartfelt memoir, I would say. It would be unfair to say that I didn't expect something warm, something like this from Clementine Ford, because the point is that whatever she talks about with love. She talks about with love for women. That's how she is such a fierce feminist. And this is one book that I started off crying, but I ended up finishing it with some hope in my heart, because there's so much to learn about love from this book. There's so much to learn about oneself, that love is not one-dimensional. It has so many dimensions to it that you just can't stop exploring it. if you think that this one thing defines love, then you will most likely be wrong, because there's so much more to love than just that one thing. But this is one book that I was really excited to read. This was one of my first purchases in Australia, in Sydney, and I'm so glad that I bought it, and I'm so glad that I read it when I did. Next is one of my most anticipated book releases of 2022, and that was All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. This is a story of Salahuddin and Noor, who are supposed to be best friends, but something has happened and they are no longer talking to each other. But Salahuddin's mother, Misbah, is also very attached to Noor, but she is dying. And Noor, on Noor's 18th birthday, she goes to meet Misbah, and it so happens that soon after, Misbah passes away. This sort of acts like a catalyst for them, and they come together to fight for what they know is some of the most important things in their lives. Salahuddin has to keep the motel up because it is in debt. He has a drunk father who does not amount to anything. He does not do anything around the house. And Noor, with her ambitions and with her wanting to go away to college, she is unable to do so because of her own circumstances, and how their circumstances take them to paths that they never thought they would, and which are about to change their lives in drastic ways, forms this entire story. And this is such a hard-hitting book. Sabaa Tahir is one of my favorite authors of all time, if you don't know already. I've been bawling over her writing for like a couple of years now, and this is a book in which she talks about things that are very real. In this, she talks about discrimination, racism, sexism, and abuse, and there are so many facets to this story that it just wrecked my heart to no end. I just wanted to hug Salahuddin and Noor and protect them at all costs. That was what was going through my mind as I read All My Rage. And you know, the title is so apt, because if these kind of things keep happening to you, it sort of builds up within you, and where can you let that rage go? Because then the world is going to use that rage against you. It's an unfair world, and that's what it's going to do. This book was on my 5-star prediction list, I think, and although I didn't give it a full 5 stars, I gave it 4.5 stars out of 5. It is still one of my favorite books of 2022. Next is The An Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This is my first book by this author duo, and I must say I quite liked it. This is a story of Olive, whose twin Amy is getting married, and Amy is a kind of person who's considered lucky. Like, she gets whatever she sets out to get. She enters giveaways, she enters lotteries, and she wins everything. Unlike Olive, who seems to have a bit of a rotten luck. This whole of Amy's luck has ended up well for her, because now she has organized a wedding in under $1,000, and she has gotten everything almost for free. And it is at this wedding that the whole wedding contingent, they get food poisoning because of the shellfish that the catering company has used, except for Olive and her sworn enemy Ethan, who is the groom's brother. And now there's this honeymoon to talk about, Amy and Dane's honeymoon, which was also one such giveaway. And now if they don't use it, they are going to have to pay for it or something. There's a lot of conditions for that, and there are a lot of strict terms and conditions which they have to follow. So now Amy has asked Olive, and Dane has asked Ethan to go on this honeymoon. Olive and Ethan, hating each other like no other, they go to the honeymoon, and how they spend those 10 days, will they be able to stand each other, or will they bite each other's heads off, forms this entire story. This is like an enemies to lovers, so you know what's going to happen, but how it happens is the whole thing. And a fake marriage trope. It's fun. I liked it. It's a very fast read. Like, I read a chunk of it, about 300 pages of it in one sitting, so you can see how addicting the writing is. But I felt icky when the main character, Olive, she says something and she is not believed. And it is one of my biggest peeves but it's also crucial to how the conflict is resolved, so I think I need to cut it some slack. It's a fun read, a fast-paced read. If you're looking for any of these tropes, if you're in the romance genre, then I feel like this is going to be a good one for you. Oh, next is one of my favorite books of 2022, and the first 5-star prediction of mine that came true, and that is 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. This is Helene Hanff's memoir in the late 40s, about 1949, in which she started writing to a bookshop in London called Marks and Company, and the first half of this copy at least is the exchange of their letters and how they form a bond across the years. I think it's across 20 years, the letters they exchange, and the people over there, they form a bond with Helene through letters even though they haven't seen each other. And this whole thing, it's so heartwarming to read, it's so funny, it's so just wonderful. And the second half is her memoir, her diary entries, in which she goes to London, she visits London, and she goes to this whole place, her experiences with interviewing and her experiences with meeting different people, her fans, and the whole thing. It's nice to read. I just wish Helene Hanff had gotten to meet Frank Doyle. I just wish she had gotten to meet him. It's one of the most heartwarming, fun books I've read in a long time, and this is one that is never going to leave my mind, and a reread is coming soon. And I'm so glad that I read it. I'm so glad that I picked it up when I did. It's just favorite. Next is a graphic novel series that I started in November, obviously. I found out about this very recently, I don't know when, and I was like, I need to read this. And it's good that I did, because this one is none other than Saga. The first 3 volumes in the Saga graphic novel series by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. Brian K. Vaughan is the writer and Fiona Staples is the illustrator, if I'm not mistaken. And this is about Marco and Alana, who are from warring nations of sort, and now they are on the run. They have brought a new life into this world, and they are on the run because both kingdoms are on their trail. They want to find them, they want to execute them, they want to punish them, because they think that mating with the other race is wrong. And I feel like that is such a reflection of how narrow-minded society is as well. But there's a lot of violence, a lot of gore, and it also gets steamy and explicit. But I feel like all of this violence, gore, etc, it just adds to the intensity of the plot, because there's so much feeling in what Marco and Alana are doing, in their relationship with each other, in their relationship with the people around them, and in their love for their kid. It's a lot, but it also gives you hope, and I feel like this is going to become one of my favorite series of all time. Last but not the least is An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X. Arpan, another of my most anticipated 2022 releases, and I must say it didn't live up to that hype, but it was good. It was good. This is about Luna Chang and Hunter Yi, whose families are enemies, like they detest each other. There's a red line that you should not cross. You are not going to talk with that other family, you are not going to go near them. But obviously Luna and Hunter fall for each other. There's so much history behind their families, and they have pasts as well. And Hunter has the perfect aim. He is great with a bow and arrow, he never misses his mark. And Luna has some sort of warm magical powers, which I can't really explain. You'll have to read to find out. And Luna finds that wherever she goes, fireflies follow her. But what exactly are these fireflies, and how is this whole Luna and Hunter power kind of thing going to play into this story, and what will happen when their family's pasts are about to come knocking at their doors, forms this entire story. Again, bad gist, but this is combination between Romeo and Juliet and Chinese mythology. I won't say what of Chinese mythology it is. It's a nice combination of the two. It brings out everything very well. Although I feel like the writing is sort of repetitive, I mean, at one point in the book, early on in the book that is, I just went, can you please get on with it already? I want to know. You've said this so many times. You're building up mystery, fine. You're building up the suspense of sorts. That's also completely fine. But you mention it twice and then come to the point. But it's like you're going in circles and you're not getting anywhere. And the second one is that ending. It just didn't give that sort of, it didn't wrap things up for the side characters. Like, what exactly happens with the families? Tell me how they are connected in a clearer manner. I mean, on the whole, it's a fast read. I wouldn't say it's fast paced because the pace stumbles sometimes, but it's a fast read. You can finish it in very soon. I won't say how soon, but I read it pretty fast. So there's not much to process other than the fact that you are not giving me enough to process. There's no closure towards the end of the book. So those and the others that I've mentioned were all the books that I read in November 2022. Which of these books have you read? Which ones do you want to read? What books did you read in November 2022? Did you find any favorites, or unfortunately do you find any least favorite books? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.